Well, good morning, Erica. Thank you so much for coming on this interview today.
Yeah, of course. Glad to
Yeah.
be here.
Yeah. So this is Erica. I'm Carol Williams. She's just finished up the total results one-to-one coaching with me. And it was all about business and life and productivity and everything, in between. So Erica, it's June now, and I want to take us back to the beginning, right? Back in December when you said, oh my gosh, yes, I need something. And I'm going to say yes to this because it feels right. Can you tell me a little bit about what was going on in your life that had you saying yes?
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking about this as I was sort of contemplating and just reflecting back on kind of the last 6 months and what that has done for me. And when I started this, I had, I don't think there was like a moment that I was like, yes, like I want one-on-one coaching.
Mm,
It was kind of a subconscious thing for me.
mm,
It's been kind of a process. I was the girl that back 4 years ago was afraid to buy a book. I was afraid to buy a, $10 book because I didn't feel like
wow.
I could invest that because Aaron was out of a job and a lot of different things, right? And
Yeah.
so it's been a process for me to get to this point where I can invest that much into
Yeah.
me, my business.
Hmm.
And, I've taken small steps along the way, and each step kind of got greater and greater and greater.
Hmm.
And as I think as December approached, I had worked with a couple of different people, and I really wanted to support you. I wanted to support you as a
Oh,
dot, as somebody that, and I just think it was the right time at the right place for the right thing that I
yeah.
needed at that moment. So yeah, it was definitely, it definitely turned out to be a blessing. And I had really started to dig in. I knew I was meant for more. I know that I'm meant for more. I
Right.
know I can do more. And so I knew that I needed to kind of level up in another way. And
Mm,
so yeah, I think it
nice.
was a lot of it was just really great timing and
Yeah.
just being open to those possibilities at that time.
That's beautiful. So let's dive into a detail about that. So, you knew you wanted to level up. Could you say a little bit about specifically for you, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I think back during that time, I'd really started to get consistent with my workouts. And for
Okay.
me, this plays into my business. That was the area that I really wanted to level up in because I had not been consistent. I had been struggling in some certain areas in my business. And shortly before December, I really started to get consistent with working out. And
Mm-hmm.
why this is so awesome is because it created energy in my life. And I think that
Yeah.
was the momentum that pushed me into wanting to be consistent and realizing that if I could have consistency and results in this one area of my life, I could
Mm-hmm.
have consistency and results in other areas of my life that
Oh,
include
that's
things like,
beautiful.
yeah, like my marriage and my business and, just other areas of my life that I'd kind of let slacked. And
Oh,
so
beautiful.
yeah, that was huge. That was a big sort of realization. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So what I'm hearing is like there was this subconscious thing. It was sort of bubbling up in you, like I want more for me, and I'm getting consistent. And I know that there's a coach who says the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And so what I'm hearing from you is like, hey, I've got success here. I know that to get to that next level of success, because I just know this because you and I have worked together and we've kind of gone through this a little bit before the program, is that you need to kind of take a step so that there was like an outside, accountability, right?
Yeah.
And inspiration. And somebody who would maybe, I'll just put it out there, had gone down the path ahead of time.
Yeah.
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 And I think one thing that I enjoyed about you is that you were a different perspective. So I've worked with a lot of, I have a network marketing business that I'm
Yeah.
really proud of. And I was looking for a little bit of an outside perspective, someone that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have a network marketing business, someone
Right.
that has done things at a different perspective. So to give me a different perspective. So,
Yeah.
that old definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result.
Right.
That's not what I was looking for. I was looking for something different. And
Well,
so, yeah.
thank you. That's a good point, is that when it's really good to get a mentor or a coach that has gone through the exact same thing, because I think there's a lot of value in that. And you point out that it's also good to get that outside perspective. So what outside perspective do you believe we learned together, you learned, we got together, that really shifted things for you? What was that outside perspective for you?
Well, there was two things. I had been hesitant to get my website up and going just because of some of the training I had in duplication. And I still believe that. I don't believe a website is for everybody when,
Mm-hmm.
if you're working inside of a network marketing business, but
Right.
I do have some goals outside of what I want to do. And so having that tool has been awesome. And so leveraging that tool has been something that I'm working towards. And
Nice.
that was a great push. Another thing that happened during our time is really realizing, making some connections kind of in my brain and realizing that I have ADHD. It's not something that
Wow. Yeah.
it's not something I'm focused on getting diagnosed, but realizing that some of those behaviors are behaviors that I have. And so just
Yeah.
coming to that kind of realization, and with your expertise and some of the things that some of your strengths and some of the areas that you really excel at, you were able to help me and guide me in some of the tools and resources that have been just so monumental in the last even just couple of weeks in my life. And so
Really?
I really appreciate that. So those
Wow.
are two big shifts that I think happened during our time together.
Cool. Well, let's dive into that a little bit before we kind of back out to the 50,000, foot view. So when you say about, like, in the last couple of weeks, tools that have really worked for you, can you identify one or two for the people who might be listening, wondering, what is she talking about?
Yeah. So a couple of the tools, like something you suggested, was this Naptol. It's a natural supplement. I really believe in supplementations. That's something I'm
Yeah.
definitely open to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I had any huge major shifts when I started taking it.
Mhm.
But one thing that's been huge for me, I've realized, because somebody that does struggle with ADHD or has ADHD, they have issues with executive function. So kind of
Mhm.
putting thoughts together or putting sequencing of things together. So
Right.
something that was huge and major for me, that was just like actually a really exciting moment, was when I literally walked in the door and I thought, okay, I'm going to hang my keys up. And it was literally a what? I just had that thought, because I've never had that thought that, okay, usually the keys just to get thrown wherever the keys need to be. Like it just,
Right.
okay. And then what happens later, right? I'm searching for my keys. I'm like
Right.
struggling to find my keys.
Right.
Simple things like, okay, I'm going to put all of my workouts, all my paper workouts. I have these workouts that I do. And usually before a workout, I'm like searching for the one that I want, because they're thrown here or thrown there, or thrown everywhere. But I have a spot for them, and
A
I put them
spot.
back every single time. Like that is
Awesome.
not something I thought of
Right.
before, like starting to do this. The other
Perfect.
thing was just, I think it was hard in the beginning, kind of viewing my brain as broken. Like I think that is in the moment how
Mhm.
I thought of it. It
Yeah.
was just a lot of realization coming in and hitting hard, but I
Yeah.
felt all the feelings and I accepted all the feelings. And then I
Yeah.
feel like I really put it out there that I wanted to find better ways to work with my brain instead of working against
Yeah.
my brain. And so there have been
Beautiful.
things that have come into my life, like this book that I'm reading now called Limitless, that is really
Nice.
all about the brain and finding better
Love it.
ways to learn and easier ways to learn. So,
Beautiful.
those have been major. And I wouldn't have had those breakthroughs if we hadn't had some of the conversations that we had. Like, I believe everything happens for a reason.
Well, that's brilliant. So that's a pretty big shift and milestone to know at the beginning, to know that something wasn't working, that you have this subconscious, like, I don't know what it is, but I know I need to get more consistent, and just taking that leap of faith, right? To along the journey, uh, finding that you've got ADHD, which by the way isn't, in my opinion, anything that's broken. It's just simply a different brain structure. That's
Yeah.
all. And once we learn our brain structure, oh my gosh, now we can do the things that we need to do, such as the keys or I mean, that's just to scratch the surface. So thank you for nailing that down. The other thing you mentioned was the website. Like, how long had it been, roughly, that you were like, oh yeah, someday I got to do that?
Well, I bought my domain in 2016.
And when's it now?
2016, it is 2020. So it was
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe it wasn't quite 2020. It was my second hip surgery, which is 2017. So it hasn't been
Okay.
quite 4 years. It was 3 years. I
Okay.
had bought my domain in 2017. I literally can remember where I was at. It was like sitting at my grandmother's house. I was
Yeah.
like in my chair, still recovering from my second hip surgery. I was like, I feel like I need to do this. And I remember buying the domain. I even set up the WordPress portion of
Wow.
it, but
Yeah.
I hadn't gone as far as, developing the template or setting up the template or, putting any content up or like I did none of that. And so it was definitely a lot of work. But I
Yeah.
made it happen. I made it happen. And that was super exciting. And just having the guidance in some of the different aspects. And that
Yeah.
was, I think, really important and super helpful. And, getting my email stuff set up and getting
Nice.
my free gifts set up, doing
Yeah.
kind of all those steps, was very helpful, and
Yeah.
definitely has made a difference, and is
Right.
something that I am starting to leverage even more. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Because so now you can say, I am open for business. And
Yeah.
as a result, what does your business look like now in June 2020 versus, say, December 2019?
So I have, as I've stated, I have a network marketing business.
Yep.
And so we rank things off of really sort of ranks in our business, and
Mhm.
it goes off of points. And so I was hovering at about, I think in December, I was roughly at about maybe 65 points. And to get to my next level was going to be 100 points. So I was, I was not quite, about a little over halfway.
Mhm.
And so in January, I actually made that, was the first time I'd made that, to that 100 point jump. And that was major. That was massive in my business. And I've recruited every month consistently at least one customer or one investor, and
Nice.
most of the time multiples. In April I added 6 people, which was, I've never done that before. That was a huge,
That's huge.
massive, that was huge for me. Yeah. And even better is I've retained those people.
Yeah.
I've really onboarded, I've created some onboarding systems that have really helped me in helping those people. Like, I got this message from actually a guy that I've started a couple of times, and I've not given up on him. And he restarted again, and he sent me a message. He was like, Erica, I feel so good. I just want to say I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful. He was like, I can see that the future is bright. And that was just so exciting to hear that. Like, that's the reason why I do what I do, because I want to help people feel good. I want them to know that they can do more, that they can have more, that they can be more, that, by
Yeah.
up leveling their energy, they're going to be able to attain so much more. So that's huge for me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It is huge, because it's points and money. But when I listen to you and I watch you just crazy light up, what I'm really feeling in my heart is that really your goal is to light the light of others. And
Yeah.
when you can do that, now your light shines bigger,
Yeah.
right?
It does.
So let's get down to like the detail for those who might want to know before we wrap it up. It's like you said 65 points, then you went to 100 points. Do you want to say in terms of percentage of increase in business and sales? Do you want to say increase in like, I want to find out for those who want to know, like, what maybe revenues coming in percentage wise different or points different? Like, how do you want to measure it, and where
Mhm.
are you now versus before?
In terms of revenue, I went from about a steady probably 3 to 500 to 7 to 1,000.
Okay.
And so that was probably about a 25% increase or so.
Well, I
Which
like,
is,
okay. I'm going to say differently because if it's 300 and it goes to 700, that's double.
that is true. That is
That's
double.
double.
Yeah. That is
So
double.
that's
Yep.
200%.
Yep. That is double.
And
Very
if it's
true. Very true.
300 and it goes to 1,000, now we're talking about triple.
Yeah. So some big increases there, which has been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And
So
I've been able to sustain sort of that level, which has been awesome.
without
So
losing your
I've
mind.
without losing my mind. Yeah, no, I've had a lot of peace. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of peace. I haven't felt like I've worked necessarily harder. I've worked smarter.
Ooh, so that's really beautiful. All right. Well, with that, the only other thing I really have to say is all those extra people that you pulled in April, for those of you who might be listening later, don't forget that that was quarantine. That was when
Mhm.
everybody was in their houses and everybody had to shift and figure out, how do they live their lives differently, and the world was coming to an end, and you were building your website, building your business, creating routines, making your relationship better, continuing to work out and doing all this stuff. So I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you during this time, because
Mm.
I believe that it's really important to have that support during
Mhm.
times of upheaval.
Yeah.
Uh, right?
Yeah.
So, anything you'd love to
Definitely.
say in closing, for anybody who's like, I don't know if I want to invest in myself, in my business. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I'm, worthy. I don't know if I have time. Any words of wisdom that you might impart?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an investment. It was definitely a stretch. Um, definitely a stretch for us and for my life. It's not something I've done consistently. I've invested big, but not consistently every month at that level for 6 months. That was definitely a stretch for us financially, but it was worth it in the long run. I know it will be worth it. I know I'll look back and say, okay, like having this intensive focus for 6 months has propelled to X, Y, and Z. So I would say just go for it, and just go for it. Make the decision that you are worthy, because you are worthy. You are worthy of investing in yourself. If you're willing to invest in other people, whether that's with your time or your finances, like you're worthy of investing in you.
All right. Thank you so much, Erica. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Yeah.